Most dangerous attempt on a presidential candidate or president since alone, right? But the second attempt, people I think are a little more like, oh, well, at least he didn't get shot, as he did on the first one. This was dangerously close to more shots being fired at President Trump. We have some additional information on this. I think I said last week when I looked at the photo on Air Post that it's an SKS rifle. That has been confirmed. So it's a semi-automatic SKS rifle, had a detachable curved magazine, had a scope added to it for longer range shooting, fires a .762 round. This was absolutely sufficient for somebody who was trying to conduct some kind of an assassination attempt to have this rifle under these circumstances. So the guy knew at least what he was doing with regard to that, which makes him a greater threat. Knew to find cover and or concealment and even a degree of cover by setting up these plates, ceramic bulletproof plates, not really bulletproof, but bullet resistant, you could say, plates and bags. And we also have the note that he wrote, "Dear world." I mean, to talk as you said this over the weekend, this guy really thought that he was going to become a global hero by assassinating a former and likely future U.S. president.
So this letter was released officially, I think, early this morning, late last night, and it is from the would-be assassin. And I think to your point, it's very important that we recognize this. The one attempt in Butler, PA, because it was on film and because Trump was hit, struck people in a way that it was impossible to ignore. I think a lot of people who are casual followers of the news aren't even aware that this guy would have been camped out for 12 hours beside the golf course, and that he had a GoPro, and that he was prepared to film himself, and that he was saying that he needed to kill Trump because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris convinced him that Trump was a direct threat against democracy. But what strikes me, Buck, and I'm curious what your analysis of this would be, the guy says in the letter that if he fails, he will pay someone $150,000 to kill Trump. Now, this guy's clearly crazy. This would-be assassin, the second would-be assassin. $150,000. He doesn't have $150,000, but it's not like he said, "I'll give you $15 million or $150 million." It's very strange, $150,000. But why did they publish this letter? And the reason why I ask that question is, we frequently are told, for instance, with the trans shooter manifesto in the state of Tennessee, where I'm from, in Nashville, it still hasn't been officially published. And the FBI and authorities said, well, we don't want to encourage another round of shooting based on some of the things that were written in this trans manifesto, right? That's the logic by which they chose not to publish it. How does putting a letter out where a guy puts a bounty on Trump's head and encourages other people to kill him, how does that follow the logic of not releasing the trans manifesto? Because what I would argue, Buck, is there isn't a consistent principle here. If your position is, hey, these crazy manifestos, these crazy letters, we're always going to publish them. Like they published the guy who shot up the grocery store in El Paso, Texas. Remember, his manifesto got out. They eventually published the Unabomber's manifesto. What seems to me to be the standard that's being applied here, and tell me what I'm missing, and I'm, by the way, 800-282-2882. You guys, maybe I'm missing something here. You guys can analyze. How could you justify not publishing the trans manifesto because you said you were concerned that it would encourage additional shootings? But you do publish the second would-be assassin's letter where he says somebody else needs to kill Trump if he can't, and I'll give you $150,000 if you do it. Either publish everything from crazy people or publish nothing from crazy people. I don't understand the logic of publishing this one and not publishing the trans shooter. You got my take here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is no logic other than they didn't want people to be focused on a trans shooter who was upset about what she believed to be anti-trans policy, so they just made this one-off exception. It's the notion that we're not going to release information that is pertinent to not only an investigation, but an issue of public safety and public security.
And motive.
And of course. this was a one and done, or at least one and done for this situation rule that they came up with, that they had no intention of the rationale behind keeping the trans terrorist manifesto secret would not be applied by the people using it to any other circumstance that did not involve another trans terrorist. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they never thought that they were never acting on principle. It was just political favoritism, and then they try to, after the fact, justify it in this way. But what you see with this guy is, look, I mean, a lot of the arguments that he makes are the arguments that they have foreign policy experts making on, Morning Joe, which is, he's a threat to the world. I'm doing this for the world. It's all, this guy was obsessed with Ukraine. I mean, you see that if you have convinced enough people that Donald Trump is a unique threat to end the republic and to the global order. Yeah, they're part of this that we don't talk about because we're emotionally stable people. They are emotionally stable, happy people who try to live in reality, like you, which is why all of you are listening to this show. We're emotionally stable, overwhelmingly happy people that love our country and want what's best for ourselves and our families and our neighbors, right? A lot of leftists are lunatics. Yeah, they honestly have a mental instability that is either exacerbated or caused by their chosen politics. We can argue about which one of those it really is. They've been saying not only is Trump a threat to the republic, Clay, that he's going to let dictators, whether it's Putin or North Korea's Kim Jong-un, do whatever they want, destabilize the world order, and lead to nuclear war. I mean, this is the argument, this is the event, which I know it's like it's going in deep into the rabbit hole and going into crazy town. Trump is the guy who keeps us out of wars, but they argue that he's actually a threat of massive war. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's part of their whole logic. If the goal of I really can't get around releasing this letter other than trying to encourage someone else to kill Trump. I really can't. I mean, I think everybody knows what the motive was of the guy who showed up to kill Trump. He wanted to kill Trump. So I'm not persuaded that this letter changes anything in terms of the motive. And again, I don't understand why publishing it, but for the encouragement of other crazy people to try to kill Trump, what the purpose of this would be otherwise. Yeah, and also...
what happened over here?
Or rather, they've done some investigation of his social media footprint and everything else. He was looking for how to get from Florida to Mexico, which, I don't know, if I were... if you're thinking about where you would try to escape the U.S., first of all, you'd want to get to a non-extradition or a country that has a history of refusing extraditions before. But do you know what some of the, I know, this is a kind of a specialized area of law. Do you know what some of the non-extradition countries out there are? Partly because we talked about it last night at our fancy steak dinner. You knew more about this than I did. A lot of the countries that are non-extraditable countries are not places that you would want to live.
North Korea.
Yeah, I'm not going to North Korea.
Somalia, not on the list. What else do we have? China, which, I mean, yes, advanced, but I don't think you're going to have a great time living in China.
Yeah, I don't think they would like me very much.
And they might decide to just turn you over anyway. They won't turn over a Chinese national, though. Belarus and Russia. You gotta like the cold and you gotta like vodka. I'm just saying.
I mean, of those lists, I guess Russia would be the best.
Well, there's more. I've been to Vietnam. Vietnam's actually I think a very.
I didn't know they didn't have extradition.
According to, I just did a Google search, so we can blame Dr. Google if this is wrong. But Vietnam, I don't think has a formal extradition country. There are a few others. Iran.
Not going through Iran.
No, I don't think Iran's on the list.
Fit in very well.
You start to look at this, like where would
Afghanistan?
Go?
Not going to Afghanistan.
Yep, that's not a garbage.
Me and the Taliban, I don't think we would get along well.
Not going to have a great time. There are some other Gulf states in the Middle East, but the point is, if you're trying to go full on non-extradition, you have very limited options.
And also, it's hard to get there. A lot of these countries you can't even fly into now.
Yeah. Lebanon is, Lebanon, no. Hezbollah, that's going to be rough.
Well, that's where the guy from, who was the CEO, right, of the car company, fled to Beirut, right? Because there was no extraditable.
I think
they put him in the Kerry case, right, out of Japan.
Yes, that's right.
And that is one I remember that he had done the specific research. Now, I think he was also a Lebanese citizen, the guy who was that's
That
why
makes
he
a
wanted
huge
to get there.
because whether they'll let you whether they'll let you into the country. Anyway, this guy was trying. The point here is that this guy knew what he was doing, set up to do it, had the equipment to do it, had scoped out where he thought Trump would be, was at a location where Trump was going to be vulnerable, got away.
Yes.
Initially. I mean, I bring this up because it's not unthinkable that this guy could have gotten from Florida to an island in the Caribbean, to Cuba, where I don't know, I don't know if he'd get turned. I probably wouldn't get turned over.
Yeah.
I think they technically have an extradition treaty with the U.S., but they don't honor it. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, you get a lawyer on who knows about extraterritorial law. But the point here, Clay, is this was like I said, this would have been the most dangerous, most serious assassination attempt on a president since Ronald Reagan got shot in the 80s. And this was the second most dangerous attack against Trump in the last 2 months.
And it barely got 24 hours of coverage. And now, to me, it feels like they're further incentivizing assassination attempts by publishing this guy's letter, which included a charge, a challenge, an offer of $150,000 if someone were able to complete the job of assassinating Trump, which he didn't do. Again, what is the logic here? I would just like it to be applied consistently. It's too dangerous to get the trans manifesto shooters' information and words out there, but this one immediately gets released. I don't get it. Look, right now, my two oldest kids both have Pure Talk phones. I use their Pure Talk phone to stay in touch with them. 16-year-old and 14-year-old. They have got phenomenal cell phone service thanks to Pure Talk. You can keep your same phone and your same phone number. Cell phone service just as good, and you will save a bundle. In fact, for just $25 a month with Pure Talk, you can get unlimited talk, text, 5 gigs of data, plus a mobile hotspot. That's enough to watch 10 hours of video or stream 1,000 songs. You can make the switch to Pure Talk right now. Dial pound 250, say Clay and Buck, and you'll save 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250, say Clay and Buck to start saving now on your cell phone plan. That's pound 250, say Clay and Buck, 50% off your first month. You can save up to $1,000 over the course of a year. Get signed up now at Pure Talk using pound 250, say Clay and Buck.
Learn, laugh, and join us on the weekend on our Sunday with Clay and Buck podcast. Find it on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Clay Travis and Buck Central Show, each weekday 1 to 4 p.m. on KFEQ.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, we give our students credit where credit is due. Credit for deciding in the middle of rush hour traffic to go back and get their bachelor's and a promotion. Credit for managing 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a full-time job to pursue an MBA. And credit for serving in the military by day so they can study cybersecurity at night.